Well, thank you for joining me this evening. I hope that you'll be able to walk away with valuable information. The topic today is nonprofit website best practices. So this is an evolution of the internet. My attempt to be able to share with you some of the strategies that are being used for organizations such as yourself, nonprofits. I see that we have a wide diversity of people and probably varying levels of technology comfort. There's a website that's being worked on. You said yours is being worked on.
No, it's just that our webmaster moved to Afghanistan.
Oh, moved to Afghanistan. Okay, that's wonderful. Isn't that the beauty of technology, though? That you can have people working for your website, with your website, in any location. And nothing speaks to that more than social media at this moment in time. For instance, with Facebook. Anybody that you meet around the world, you can stay in touch with. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, is how do we continue to engage with the audience that visits our website. So let's go through a couple of things. Before I begin, though, I'd like to share with you a little bit of my background. I started with a .com back in 1998, doing websites and online marketing. In 2001, I established my own company here in Monterey County called By Technology, and we've been doing website development ever since. One of the core passions that I have in terms of development is working with nonprofits. In the first 3 years, my primary goal was to be able to engage with the SPCA of Monterey County, because animals is one of those things that are near and dear to my heart. So fortunately, I had the opportunity to engage with them. From that time, we've worked on many, many local nonprofit projects, including Amanda, Community Foundation. It's in red, but you can also see it in that screen there. We've done My Museum, the Otter Project. We recently did the Salinas Air Show, the mobile version. So I'll give you a quick example. There were a lot of airplanes and exhibits that were available during the event. People were actually able to take their phone, scan the QR code, and be able to go directly to the page to learn more about that aircraft. We've also done, like I mentioned, the SPCA of Monterey County and worked with United Way, a couple different United Ways, one in Monterey and one in Santa Cruz. So we do have a little bit of experience in terms of the wants and needs of the local nonprofits with a high sensitivity to budget and the understanding that there are limited resources. So let's go ahead and continue here. So one of the things that's very, very interesting is this paradigm of being able to have people donate in an online environment. For a long period of time, the traditional mechanism for donations was present. But in the online world, initially, people were a little bit apprehensive. You know, is donating or sending money online or over the internet safe? I think we've pretty much overcome that barrier by now. And so there are new means to be able to accept payment. And I'll go through that in a few slides later. But one of the important things when you think about your website, and if you don't have a website or you have an existing website, I think a lot of the things that I'll be sharing with you today do apply. Simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. One of the websites here is the WWF, and I want to actually do a structural breakdown of this layout to give you a core understanding of what I mean by the word simplicity. And many of these websites now follow this form and convention. On the upper left, you'll see the WWF logo. Straight across, we see the navigation that's kept fairly short. Yes, your organization may do many wonderful things, but we want to have them compartmentalized so it's easy for people to digest and get to the area of interest. We see who we are, what we do, how to help, donate, and adopt. Only 5 items. It doesn't imply that the site is small, it's just easier to find. The other thing we'll see is that the donate and the adopt in this situation is a slightly different color, really designed as a call out, because those are the things that this organization feels is important and wants you to engage with them. Now in the middle area, you'll notice that there's a photo. Now it doesn't currently revolve, but this is a slideshow. And this is what I call a billboard. The billboard usually will go through a slideshow of about 3, perhaps 4 items. Why is this important? This is important because it's leveraging the most valuable real estate you have on your website, which is considered the top fold. It gives you the chance to be able to showcase 3 to 4 key concepts or ideas that you want to convey to your audience, and making it a very passive type approach. They don't have to do anything at all. It automatically will slide through. So you may have seen this on many websites. Now down on the bottom, you'll also notice that there are 3 key areas. These are what I would call the mini billboards or modules. Here in this case, it's be the voice, feature stories, and support our work. Once again, they're giving you 3 avenues for engagement, and you can decide which way you want to head in. So the website homepage, at least, is not very intensive. It's more graphically appealing and visually based, okay? So some of the websites from prior were very, very text heavy. Now the trend is more towards simplicity, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a content-rich website. That's what a secondary or a tertiary level page would look like. So for example, if we looked at support our work, if in theory, if you were to click on that, you'd have a page just dedicated on how you can engage with them, okay? So this is one example, okay? Making your website media friendly. One of the things that we all enjoy as nonprofits is the ability for us to get PR. PR is essentially things you don't have to pay for, marketing you don't have to pay for, but we have to be sensitive to the media at large. The media at large can include things like blogs, newspapers, radio, television, print, so on and so forth. But by having our website media friendly, this is what I mean. If you take the Livestrong website, if somebody is writing an article on cancer or exercise pertaining to, and they want to use Livestrong as a resource, in your case, it'll be a local area resource, but this is a national resource. They can take a look at their press releases. They know who immediately the media contact is. They may also have a repository of high-quality photos, the logo of the organization, sound bites that you may already have. It could include video. Even if you have video, they can take video snippets directly from your website. So this is really designed as a self-serve area, because if you make it easy for media to self-serve and pull what they need initially, it's more likely that they would actually write upon what's happening in your organization. So once again, this kind of speaks to that topic of making it easy, not only for your users, but for media outlets. There are 2 approaches to making your website more multilingual friendly. Localization is always key, especially in this area, making sure that the language that you do translate into is relevant for your local community. You can either have, if you have a website with a content management system, or if you don't, you actually can have either manual translation and then basically create a replica website that's in that language. So that's probably the best way to do it, but it's also the most work. The reason why it's the most work is you have to manually translate every single word to make sure that the translation accuracy is as high as it can be. There are also automated translation tools, for instance, one through Google Translate. Google Translate can actually provide you a multitude of different languages that you can select from. However, the advantage is the implementation is very short. For a web developer, you can put it in maybe 30 minutes or so. The disadvantage is the accuracy rate. Accuracy rate may be, let's say, 80 to 90%, which in some instances might be okay. But for the most part, if you're trying to convey the most professional appearance possible, a manual translation is probably most ideal. Now, if you have a content management system, the advantage is you can provide the translator with the ability to go in and actually modify it in real time, as opposed to having to go through a process where it can really slow down the updates, because they would have to send it to the director. The director would have to have somebody review it and then stage it, post it live. So it takes a little bit more time. So there are efficiencies gained by having a content management system, in this case for the translator. Does that help answer your question? Okay. Okay. Making your website volunteer friendly. How many organizations here live and die by the people who volunteer? Okay, quite a bit. One of the things that we have to, as an organization, make sure is that it's easy for people to volunteer. Not only do they have to understand what the values are, everybody's going to volunteer for different reasons. And so what we want to be able to convey are different opportunities for them to engage. So for instance, in this example here with the Susan G. Komen, you can see in this drop-down menu there, I have to read it here, become an advocate, participate in an event, find a local affiliate, join Circle of Promise, passionately pink for the cure, Komen, you can shop if you want to support them financially that way, careers, and Israel Race for the Cure. If you support the organization and you want to begin to engage with them, this is the beauty of it, is that they've given you multiple methods to be able to do so. Other ways to do it include, I don't know if they have it on this screen here, but the ability to leave your contact information so that somebody within the organization can actually call back. Some are very comfortable engaging in an online environment. Some want a more personalized experience and want to work locally. That's why if I leave my contact information and somebody, let's say the executive director of your organization, calls me back to say, hey, I want to thank you for your visit to our website. I understand that you have an interest in this area of our organization. May I invite you up to our next mixer and give you a tour of who we are and what we do. So traditional versus non-traditional. Non-traditional is engaging directly through the website. But what I want to make very, very clear is that, number one, in your messaging for your volunteer page, make sure that they understand what the value is for volunteering. Number two is provide multiple methods of engagement so that it will accommodate as many types of users as possible. Okay? Make your organization's purpose obvious. I think you all did a very nice job of it this morning where you had your elevator pitch, sharing with us in, let's say, 30 seconds or less, who you are, what you do, and what the purpose of the organization is. In some instances, there are websites that are not necessarily so clear, particularly if you go to the homepage. I would say that your homepage and then maybe one of your secondary pages is the most important portion of your visiting experience. If the users, and you can have a trial set of people do it, if they can't tell you in a short amount of time who you are, what you do, then you may have missed the mark. And this happens a lot because, well, websites evolve over time and there's not a lot of spring cleaning being done. So just as you would spring clean your home, consider a spring clean of your website as well. Make sure that it's clear, effective, and relevant to who you are, what you do at this moment in time. The example that I have here is the Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts mission, still growing, strong, empowering girls. You can see their leadership and their history. This is a very clean example of another website design. Logo up at top, clear navigation. They have a sub-navigation on the right, and this is the 2/3, 1/3 approach. So this is an example of an interior page. So the home page I shared with you earlier where it's very visually based, but here it's a little bit more content rich. They're still using some images on the side, but this is an example of a good design approach. So if you're considering a redesign, this might be a direction that you may want to approach. And if you look at the upper right, Give Now. That's going to be prominent on every single page. Okay? Make your website consistent with brand materials. Let me ask the audience, do you feel that your website currently is consistent with a lot of the marketing literature, business cards, print material, things you see on television? Is it fairly consistent?
Yes.
Yes?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
We purposely did it that way. Same
Excellent.
color, same fonts.
Good. That requires a planned approach, making sure that everything is going to look consistent for branding. Because we talk about the series of 7. Series of 7 is that somebody who is unfamiliar with your organization would need to hear or see you 7 times for that to really stick. And we want that. That's one of the reasons why social media has become so popular. It's a great way to be able to ping somebody or get them to see your brand on a consistent basis. When I say team in training, what color do you think? Anybody? Purple, exactly. We've got a lot of highlights of purple. It's in the logo. It's also in a lot of the clothing that the people wear. So that's an effective use. Or if I say Target, you'll think red. If I say American Express, you'll think blue. So the beauty, they keep it very simple as well, is if you're trying to brand, you want to be as consistent as possible. And sometimes with nonprofits, they go through lots of changes, both staffing, volunteer-wise. So sometimes the concepts can vary. But if you have a strategic approach to thinking long-term, maybe a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, as to how we're going to project ourselves as an organization, the website is one element of that branding effort. The business cards, maybe even the uniforms that the people wear, the front of the establishment, having it all consistent is going to lead to a much more powerful presence. Consider a news or a blog function. Blogs are still valuable. I get a lot of questions about whether or not I need a blog for my website. So my short answer is, put a blog on your website if you feel that you can manage and maintain it properly and give it the attention and dedication that you feel you would need in order to keep it robust, accurate, and relevant. If you're not willing to do that, and it can take a bit of work, if you're going to update the blog on a weekly basis, that could take 30, 45 minutes, even up to an hour of your time. The worst thing would be to have a blog with a old post date from, let's say, 6 months ago, because that can turn off people knowing that this information isn't fresh. There is a high value in blogs, though, because that's unique content, and having good unique content is great for search engine optimization as well, being found on Google. This is just an example of a blog the Susan G. Komen site has, but they stay up to date with theirs, and they have dedicated, I'm sure they have dedicated people writing on that. Capturing visitor data. The reason why I feel this topic is so interesting is because I feel that it's underutilized. You have a captive audience. Somebody who's visiting your website is visiting it with intent. If we understand who's visiting, how they're going through the website, and we're able to capture their information, it gives us the opportunity to re-engage with them. Because your conversion rate, when I say conversion, that means having them do something that you want them to do, whether it be donate, get involved, come to an event, could be different options. But if we have mechanisms in place to be able to capture the data, we're going to do a much better job. So let's take, for instance, here, Constant Contact. So Constant Contact allows you to be able to put a little box on your homepage, or every page of your website, allowing people to enter their email address. Once we capture their email address, we can continue to correspond with them via our newsletter. Okay? The newsletters, ideally, they'll be sent out maybe once a week or maybe twice a month. I know that I'm, and many of you maybe, subscribe to newsletters that you receive daily or maybe every other day. So the frequency really is up to you, but in terms of the frequency, consistency is probably best. Because if you have consistency, then your audience at large can anticipate. They know that each Friday they're going to get some type of communication from you. All right? It's a double opt-in system, so that when they put in their email address, they're going to get a confirmation email that says, do you actually really want to be part of this? And that's part of spam compliance and making sure that you're following the rules. Leveraging social media. I chatted a little bit about this. The ASPCA website, you can see, they follow the same form and convention where most sites will have a social media icon on the bottom. That's primarily where the social media icons are placed. And the reason why this is important, I had a question earlier. You said, are websites even relevant any longer? I've got a social media page. Isn't that all I need? That depends. I would probably challenge that and say no. You probably want a website and a social media presence because they serve different functions. The website would be considered your base for storing all of your non-time relevant content. But social media, that's where the time relevant content goes. So it's more of like the microblog or the news feed. You can see here they have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But at the bottom, you can also see that they have a little Facebook like. It gives people the opportunity to like the page immediately. And you can have different pages with the like button. But that allows them to engage right away without having to go over to the Facebook side. Now, here's another consideration. This is the latest evolution due to the popularity of devices such as the iPad tablet and mobile phones. If you take a look at your statistics, if you're using Google Analytics, you'll probably see a section that tells you how many users are coming in using a mobile device. And you might be surprised. I've seen things like, for instance, my museum, about 30% of their visitors are using mobile devices. And that makes sense because there may be people coming from out of the area looking for a place to engage with their children. And they're going to do it on the mobile devices. So having some sensitivity to how your website is presented on these devices is key. For example, if you have any Flash elements, Flash will only work on some devices, but it unfortunately won't work on current Apple devices. So if your site is full Flash, it'll come up as a blank screen. And so we don't want that. The other consideration is that because you have a smaller real estate, and I see you playing with your iPhone right there.
Just looking at my web to see if
Good, good. Feel free to test it out. But you can't. So you might have to do a lot of pinching, a lot of moving, because essentially the site was optimized for a desktop environment. But what we want to be sensitive to is that because we have so little real estate, we want to put not the entire website, but maybe just an abridged version of your website. What are commonly used functions that people would want to access through their mobile device. They're probably not going to look at your latest dissertation about some topic, but they want to look about the latest news, your phone number, how to get a hold of you, when the event is, maybe some event photos, videos perhaps. You can see here also that when you design for a mobile device, generally you make things bigger so that people can actually press on it, move it, touch it. So it's a little different than a mouse. So same thing with a tablet. Many more websites nowadays are being optimized for each device. And so this technology now is called responsive web design. The site responds to the device and presents information appropriately for the screen size. Okay? All right. Here's another interesting trend with phones. So this is very, very popular in the European and the Asian market. It's fairly new here. It's been here long enough now that I think everybody has seen it, but they may not have interacted with it. You can actually download a free piece of software on your mobile device called a QR code reader, and the value is this. It's essentially a UPC code that will take them to your website. Ideally, it's to a specific page of your website, because imagine this. Imagine we have an art piece, we're at the plein air, and I want to learn a little bit more about this artist. In theory, I could actually take my phone, learn more about the painting, or click on it and have the artist, through a video, share with me the evolution of this painting. So it can be a very, very personal experience. If I'm directed directly to the home page, then to your home page, I'm going to have to kind of navigate around and interpret myself. We want to make things very, very, very simple. There was a question? It's called a Q, the letter Q, R, followed by the word code. Here, of course, actually you can see in this sample here, this is for a wine. Not only can you see a video, you can see the wine, the harvest, the press, share, eat, explore. I'm assuming the eat might be how the wine pairs with certain foods. But just in that small screen, you have this wide variety of different information that can be presented. So it's very, very powerful. Sometimes if you move your phone to and from, it's a little difficult for the phone it has to be pretty clear to the phone in order to direct you properly. So the key here is don't make the QR code too small. It's got to print clearly. It's got to be print ready. It cannot be fuzzy, and as large as possible. In Asia, sometimes they even have the complete side of a building as a giant QR code. So I can be blocks away and move my phone up and still be able to scan it. So that's the key. It's got to be clear. And so if it's not, then you'll start to experience some of that bugginess that you just referred to. Okay? Okay. Make it easy to donate. So there are a couple different ways. There are third-party functions, services that will help you to manage your user database and all the donations. But if you want to start off easy and affordable, one of the options is mGive. So mGive is mobile donations. So it gives your organization the ability to say to an audience, if you text 562 to this number, you'll be able to donate $5. That $5 is actually taken directly out of their cell phone bill at the end of the month. So it's very, very easy. And when you have an excited audience, it's a really, really quick way to be able to make some donation dollars. How they work is they'll charge a small percentage of that transaction fee. So it's very similar to a credit card company, and there are different ones available out there. mGive is probably one of the bigger ones, but I would highly encourage you to shop around because some of them have a minimum amount and some are just pay-per-use. So do check that out. The other one is PayPal. So PayPal is probably one of the most popular online donation options. The great thing about PayPal is it's got a universal brand. Somebody from Japan, for instance, if they wanted to make a donation to you, would feel very comfortable doing it through PayPal because they know it. There's also some security in place where if you have to have a resolution, PayPal can act as the intermediary. PayPal will normally charge anywhere between 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, and it could go lower depending on volume. But it's a pay-per-use. So you're only going to be assessed that charge if you receive a donation online. So I would definitely consider something like that. So we've been talking about all this great technology and different ways to design and have people involved in collecting data, how can we make a website more affordable nowadays? There are different strategies, all of varying levels of quality and complexity. But for this presentation, we're going to talk about starting from the lower end. There are many templates that are available out there. If you've played with templates before, they were pretty painful. There are still some of those out there where the designs are not very good. The templates are a little bit clunky. They don't provide a lot of scalability. A lot of that has changed. There are templates that can be pre-purchased now that have some of the latest technology already integrated into it. It's got good design principle. There are full-built samples that you can take a look at and play with well before you make any purchases. One of the considerations here, though, is that when you buy a template, you want to make sure that it's going to be easy for you to maintain and modify. Sometimes you would still need a professional web developer to at least bring the product in, customize it, get it to the environment that you need, provide you training, and then you're well on your way. So that's one of the biggest trends that has happened today, is that web developers are becoming less and less important in terms of maintenance. They're still important for the initial build, but we want to have the clients or your organizations have a bit of autonomy. You should be maintaining the content yourself, the photos, the pages, the copy, contact details, and doing this on a frequent basis because you understand your organization better than the web developer. The more relevant and updated you keep your website, the better it will also perform on the search engines, okay? So the web developer can still do the heavy lifting. If you want to do a major upgrade in terms of function or design, that can be done on an annual basis and you re-engage with them. But during that remaining 11 months, you're doing this all by yourself. And so the key is training. Training can be done two ways. You can either have the web developer come in and provide training to your staff or key people. You probably don't want the entire staff messing with the website. That's one way to do it. But because we understand that there's a higher turnover with nonprofit organizations, video-based training has become very popular. So what it is the web designer will actually put a video together how to make these updates and changes. They provide it to you so you now have an archive. So if you have a new hire that comes in, they simply watch this series of videos. And the video is specific to your website. So that's been really, really key. Okay. Another option here is WordPress. WordPress is an example of one of the content management systems that are available. The acronym that you'll hear thrown around is CMS. This is the engine that powers the websites that gives you the ability to manage and maintain it yourself. If you have your website built in a standard format, which is HTML, CSS, yes, you can still modify your website, but you'll require special software, and it's good to have some web design experience to make sure that you're doing it properly. The great thing about having engines or CMSs is they reduce the amount of fine-tuned control you have over your site so that you're less likely to destroy it. But these are popular. WordPress is one of them. There's Joomla, Drupal, quite a few out there, but WordPress is probably one of the most powerful. You can also go to WordPress if you decide you want to create a blog. It's free. They'll host it for you. But you can also take a WordPress site to the next level and have a full-built website built on the WordPress platform. And that's what we do a lot, and that's requested of clients. Okay. The Google Analytics. I know a lot of people are having stats available now. I'm going to talk about two aspects of it. The Google Analytics is free. So if you have your web developer install it for you, the application itself is no charge. Okay? So there's really no excuse to not have powerful statistics. And Google Analytics, in my opinion, is the gold standard. Here's the key, though. You may have Google Analytics installed or some type of statistic tool, but if you don't know how to interpret the data, then you may not know how to proceed forward, right? What are things like bounce rate? Where are the people coming from? What type of keywords are they using to visit my website? How long are they staying on the site? What about the pages? How long are they staying on the actual pages? Are there errors? Are there things that they're unable to find because links are broken? We need to know all of these things in order to gauge user behavior and assess the overall performance of the website. That way you can work towards continual improvement. In terms of how often to look at the statistics, my recommendation would be once a month. Now, you can look at your statistics more frequently if you desire, but what I've noticed is that people who view it, quite often, they can start to experience a little bit of analysis paralysis just because the data doesn't move as quickly as they are. Data can move slowly, so you're more looking at trend lines. So you can go fairly granular with the Google Analytics, but my recommendation is if you want to learn more about it, Google Analytics does offer a help area for different terms, learning about which areas of Google Analytics does what. So having a key understanding there. The other is to engage with your web developer and have them share with you where the important points are or answer any questions that you might have. So that's really, really key. Another question that I had were events. There are a couple of different ways. If you have a content management system, it makes it very easy to be able to post events and manage events directly on your website. But another consideration, it's a free application, is Google Calendaring. Google Calendar allows you to be able to enter in, now this is somebody's personal calendar, but imagine if it was for your organization on events. You can post event times and dates in here and have the web developer post the module directly on your website so it stays fresh, accurate, and current. And people can actually add it directly into their Google Calendar by pressing on a button from your website. And it can set up a reminder as well. So we talked about PayPal. Once again, consider the use of PayPal if you haven't already. PayPal offers quite a bit of features. In addition to being able to accept donations, you can also use it to sell products. Okay, so you might have mugs, stationery, pieces of art that you want to sell. You can do that directly from your website using a PayPal button. So it's probably one of the fastest way to become e-commerce ready. And that I would say that using the PayPal approach, if you're using the standard payments option, which is the smallest tier, it's a great way to get started. But you can also go with a PayPal Pro version when you're ready to take it to the next level and have a much more professional look and feel. The PayPal Pro version is $30, and you would probably integrate it with a third-party dedicated e-commerce software that gives you much more robust functionality, similar to that of Amazon.com. Things like promotional codes, you would have related searches, recommended items, lots of different features. So I wanted to share with you a couple of nonprofit website examples. Take a look at this design here. This is the Michael J. Fox Foundation website. So if you remember one of the designs that I shared with you earlier, this follows a similar form and convention that's very, very popular nowadays. Even if you go to, let's say, Patagonia or Harley Davidson, it could be many varying different industries, but the layout or the framework is the same. So I'll take you through that again because I feel it's that important. Upper left is your logo. And then we have our navigation. They kept it very simple. There's 4 items about our research, living with Parkinson's, and support MUFF. Large, easy to read. That's another consideration nowadays, is that our audience at large is not just a young audience any longer. It's basically everybody. And so we want to be sensitive to having a site that is easy to read. I don't have to get my reading glasses in order to view it. Another consideration is ADA compliance, making sure that the site can be seen by people who are visually impaired. Okay? We have our banner in the middle, and this banner once again goes through a series of slides, allowing you to see the relevant topic of the day, of the week, or the month. There's an action item here. It says, learn about PPMI. So they put that headline in there because they felt that was an important news piece. But down on the bottom, newsmakers, making Parkinson's disease history, reading from their blog. 3 little boxes. These are the mini billboards or the modules I was referring to. So you can see there are probably just a few items, but it's very clean, very well organized. When they go to the secondary level, that's where you can hit them and explode with lots of information. Okay? The evolution of websites having more graphics nowadays is also heavily based on the fact that people have access to high-speed internet access. That makes a difference. When we were dealing with the age of the dial-up, we would kill people by having too many graphics. They don't have to wait so much any longer. Cell phones, the latest technology is 4G. That's offered by both Verizon and AT&T. That's changing the way we interact with our portable devices because we can get information faster, better, and more reliable. Not 100% yet, but more reliable. So I think the consideration of having a website that looks good across multiple platforms is only going to increase. Okay, here's another one, Amnesty International. What I really like about this design is you almost don't have a reason or a good excuse to say, I didn't know how to engage with them. And I'll do a breakdown here. So we have our logo on the left in clear, large navigation, our work, get involved, donate. But take a look at how many references on the page allow me to engage with them. They have a blog, get involved, donate. Down on the left here, Chen arrives, learn more. Sign up, I can put my email address directly on there. I can donate, I can act now. I can even act locally if I want to, right? And then I have additional news and information down on the bottom. So they hit you over the head left and right. And I like that because it doesn't feel intense to me, but it feels very, very clean, very mature, and very focused. Okay? The last one that I wanted to share with you is Charity Water. I love this design here. I think their navigation could be just a little larger. It's a little bit small to me, but we have our logo on the upper left. We've got the main nav heading across. Now, in all of these instances, you see the navigation going across as opposed to vertically. And the reason why is if you go vertical and you're not very clean about it, if you have too many items, it forces the user to have to scroll up and down in order to see everything that you have to offer. So having it go from left to right on the top forces you to be succinct. Okay? So once again, we have our banner, which rotates through. You can see you can read a story about them building a well. That's the easiest part of this org. We see here right in the middle the mission statement, so you know right away who they are and what they do. The ability to be able to syndicate through social media, so you can like it through Google+, Twitter. Google+ is another one that I didn't mention earlier, but that's something that you may consider. Google+ right now, just so you're aware, when you create a Google+ page, it tends to index really well in Google. So, yeah, that's a whole separate story, but that's just something you should be aware of. On the right-hand side, you'll see that your email, you're able to add your email in, and look how much of the real estate they decided to make available for that feature. That's how important it is to them. Email, email, email. And then down below, we have our 3 modules, which basically are calls for action or more information about the organization. Okay? So hopefully this trend that I've been sharing with you, it's consistent, and hopefully it can be part of your web design strategy